after a while, you became management of sorts. How did that work out?
Well, that's something I didn't realize would happen, and it was a nice surprise. Chemists, I get, or scientists in general, I think have a bad reputation as people persons. And of course, being a manager takes being able to manage people.
Right.
So as the opportunity came to me to actually manage research and development at Lubrizol, I had to kind of do training on the fly. So they would send me to a lot of seminars. They actually sent me, if you believe this or not, I spent 2 weeks at the business school at MIT because they had a 2-week summer course, Management for Scientists. And then, believe it or not, I did the same thing for 2 weeks at Harvard. So that was an incredible experience, and I learned a lot. You learn a lot doing management.
Right.
People management is not easy.
So as you moved into management, you also were sent to other countries as part of that.
Yes, that was another unexpected benefit of working for Lubrizol, because it was such an international company, and because I, in my position, kind of represented the interface between sales and technology. The salespeople would like me to come along and be able to talk about, in a general way,
right,
the science with kind of non-science people. So, right, I got to go a lot to Japan, a lot to Europe,
Saudi Arabia, those countries.
I never quite made it to Saudi Arabia, but Korea and China, and I'm forgetting some of the other places. There were a lot of places.
That's enough. That's it.
Yeah.
That gives us an idea.
Yeah, a lot of travel.
At some point along the way, you got married and had children. Tell us about that.
Yes, another wonderful happenstance. Because I was so bent on making my life and my mother's life better,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a lot of time for other things.
Like girls.
Like girls. So I married when I was 30 years old.
Okay.
I was an old man. My wife, fortunately, was younger, and we met in Cleveland. My wife actually was born and raised and educated in Erie, Pennsylvania, which is only about an hour and a half from Cleveland.
Right.
And she eventually decided to move there as a teacher, and we actually met kind of an arranged through friends at a square dance.
Okay.
And to this day, we still like square dancing for that reason. So yes, I was fortunate to meet my lovely wife, Marjorie, and after a few years of courting, we finally married, and this year in June we celebrated 50 years of a very good marriage.
Congratulations. And you have children?
Yes, again, we were so fortunate. Children just didn't come to us as many couples do. We, believe it or not, had to work pretty hard for it. And 5 years after we were married, and I was 35 already,
Right.
had our first child, a daughter. She was born on a Easter Sunday, so we named her Krista,
Okay.
with a C.
Right.
And then 2 years later, we had a son, Michael.
Great.
So,
And you have grandchildren now, right?
yes, now we have, believe it or not, 5 girls. All girls.
Wow.
We have our own girls volleyball team.
So you told me you stayed with the same company for your entire career. That's unusual today.
I guess, I think it is, yes.
They must have treated you right.
You know, that was more or less the norm
Mhm.
at Lubrizol.
Yeah.
People really stayed there. It was a great company, and still is today, to work for. They really do uh, look out for their employees.
So after you retired, you decided to move to Northern Virginia to be near your daughter and your grandchildren. They live in Purcellville.
That's correct, yeah.
Uh, it must have been kind of traumatic for you to leave Cleveland after all those years and the connections that you had in the neighborhoods and so on, to in the church and so on, to pull up roots and leave for another state.
Right. Yeah, it was difficult. Our daughter was living in Purcellville with her husband. Her husband moved, she and her husband moved there with their children because of a job
Right.
opportunity. Our son Michael and his family live in Michigan, and he actually kind of followed my footsteps, although he took the dark side.
Okay.
I'm a chemist. He's a chemical engineer.
Okay.
So we were kind of in between, and I'm sure it's like that with many kids. We didn't train, but we encouraged our kids to be very independent.
Mhm.
So as soon as they went to college, that was kind of it. The tie was kind of cut,
Right.
and they went and formed their own lives. So we never had grandchildren nearby,
Mhm.
so we had to make a decision, and well, we
So
decided to go to Purcellville.
Michigan, Purcellville, no contest.
Well, we did. We came to Virginia, right? And it was difficult. Yeah,
Did you enjoy living in Purcellville?
we did. You know, it's a nice little town. My wife and I, we actually built a house there,
Mhm.
and enjoyed it very much.
Good.
Yeah.
So at some point, either from boredom or some other reason, you decided to fill your free time by volunteering in the local elementary school, helping the teacher do science experiments. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was another wonderful opportunity. It's kind of a second or third career, you might call it, through our grandchildren at their elementary school. It was Kenneth Colbert Elementary in Purcellville. We were invited to do a few things like read to the kids.
Mhm.
And when the teachers found out about my interest in science, eventually we worked it out that I would come in and actually do some hands-on experiments with the kids. And the teachers were very cooperative. And so I did that, and Marjorie, with her expertise in reading,
Right.
she did that. So it started a relationship with the school that exists till today.
Were the kids enthusiastic about
Oh my gosh, yes. You know how second graders are,
Oh,
third
yeah.
graders. It is interesting, from second grade to fifth grade, you notice a really big
that?
difference.
Mm.
So it's a lot nicer to, I will have second graders come running up the hall and grab my knees and say, "I love you, Dr. Z." So it was fun.
So that was the name they came up with.
You know, we came up with that name. They like it. They call me Dr. Z, yeah.
So I'm sure you enjoyed tremendously working with the kids.
Oh, I do. I really do, yeah. They're so enthusiastic.
Then eventually you moved into the middle school. How was that different?
Yes, again, as my oldest granddaughter moved to the middle school,
Right.
I kind of looked into what I might be able to help there. And one of the teachers immediately contacted me. He had a program, which is a national program called You Be the Chemist.
Okay.
And he actually started a chemistry club at the middle school. This was Blue Ridge in Purcellville. So he would actually have me come in and work with middle school kids, again doing chemical experiments.
Mhm.
So that was a lot of fun also.
I'm sure. So after a few years of working in these individual schools, you became involved with an organization in Northern Virginia called the Children's Science Center. Tell us about this organization and how you got involved with them.
It's really a wonderful group. I guess they're about 5, 6 years old. And their headquarters is actually located in the Fair Oaks Mall in Fairfax. And they have a suite of rooms there. And their objective is to bring students in, usually the grade school, maybe a little middle school, and they have their own staff, and they do science with them, all kinds of science. Right. And of course, they have a partnership with many industries in the area here, and they just do a wonderful job. Not only do our loads and loads of kids bust in to Fair Oaks there every day, before the pandemic, that is. Yeah. They also take their call it science show, and twice a week during the school year, they will go to a grade school, and they'll set up maybe in their auditorium with 10 or 12 experiments, and they'll have volunteers from that school help, and they put on a program for about an hour and a half, and they'll get 200, 250 kids coming through. It's a wonderful, wonderful group.
So when they go into the center, they're longer. The sessions are longer.
Right. They'll stay at the Fair Oaks Mall for maybe 2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah. And what they do is, at the center, they have a whole series of exhibits with staff members there, and they'll circulate from one to the other. They may be looking at gears or wind turbines or wet chemistry. So they do all kinds of it. They even have some animals.
So what was your favorite experiment, or one of the favorite for the kids?
When I was actually, I always get the same question. Are we going to do any explosions today? And, that's very difficult for me to do in the school. But I have found opportunities where I can do that, and man, they just love that. Like, for example, I'll generate hydrogen gas for them very easily.
Right.
And I bubble hydrogen gas into soap solution, and you create bubbles. Right. And each one of those bubbles is full of hydrogen gas.
Wow.
And I take a flame.
Oh my.
That thing just burnt. They love that. They just love that. And we learned something about hydrogen.
During the summer, you had to adapt and do something different. How did that work?
Yeah, and that was another thing through the Children's Science Center that I got involved in. When school is out of session, what they do is they contract with libraries all through both Fairfax and Loudoun counties, and they take their science show to the library.
Wow.
And I did that with them, and they get very large crowds there. Yeah.
So the center is working now with plans to open their own building, and you told me that somebody has already donated some land for that.
Yeah, this is just wonderful, and in a way, it's kind of a boon for Ashby Ponds. There's a development underway 5 minutes from us here called Kincora. And the developers donated a very large piece of property on that development to the Children's Science Center. And the state of Virginia has also granted them, I think, close to $1 million for the building.
Wow.
So within 3 or 4 years, there's going to be a beautiful Children's Science Center there at Kincora. And they're always looking for volunteers. So, and I know there are a lot of science people here at Ashby, so that would be a natural.
I know that you're anxious for the schools to open again so you can get back in. Any indication when that might happen?
From what I hear, in Loudon anyway, the first, second, maybe third graders will be going back part-time toward the end of October.
Okay.
But it's going to be very different. I'm told everything has been taken out of the classroom.
Yes. So, kind of fill your time during this COVID thing. You've been keeping busy by making some videos, right?
You know, I was asked by Culbert Elementary School if I could do some videos, which I did. And I have my own channel now on YouTube.
Oh, wow.
The name of the channel is Dr. Z. And I must have about 15 videos on there that I made myself.
Right.
I've become pretty good at this.
Okay.
And on a lot of topics, a lot of science topics. So between the Science Center and the grade schools, that's what I've been doing.
Tell us about the Petri dishes.
Yeah, I told you about the Petri dishes. One of the topics the grade school asked me to work on was that they wanted to somehow during the year talk to the kids about the coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a two-part video, 20 minutes each part, on bacteria and virus. And part of that was you can buy these Petri dishes,
Mm-hmm.
The bottom of which has a nutrient. So I wanted to grow viruses for the kids, so they, excuse me, not viruses, bacteria.
Right.
So the kids could actually see them.
Mm-hmm.
So where did I get the bacteria? Well, I went out here to Cardinal Pond. I took some of the pond water, and you would be amazed what was growing on that Petri dish. And I also swabbed the keyboards of some computers, and oh boy,
All right.
a lot.
So I've heard that there used to be a very active conservative club here at Ashby Ponds, and maybe had as many as 100 members. And you and some others are making plans to try and revive the club. How's that working out for you?
It's working out very well. We have about 75 members already. Yes, there was a club here about 3 or 4 years ago, but I guess the leadership kind of decided not to do it anymore. So we're just reviving it, and we're active. As a matter of fact, I'll put in a plug tomorrow, October 8th, in the Great Oaks Theater. We have a speaker, live speaker. Her name is Martha Benita. Very interesting. She is conservative, but anybody wants to drop by, I think they'll learn something.
You're also an amateur astronomer, and you've started organizing an astronomy club here. How's that working?
That was working very well. Pre-coronavirus, we have about 40 people that come to events. We had 3 telescopes out there at one time, and viewing the moon, the planets, even the sun. So that's been working out real well too.
Good.
Really enjoying it.
Well, Frank, it's been great having you on the show today. Thank you for coming.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.